So people don't, have shot down every attempt at changing the keyboard. So keep that in mind. As we're talking about changing or doing things a little different, change can be hard. And the first sign of, I don't want to do this, I don't want to learn this, I don't have time for this. It's not because the thing is not better that you're trying to do, it's because it can be difficult. So be okay with that heavy lift up front. The $10,000 consultant, this is from Focal Point, Brian Tracy book, excellent. Most of the stuff he does is excellent. But the story here is that there's a power plant that was running about 20% capacity. And they had hundreds of systems in the plant that could have been limiting the level they were running at. So they did not know which of those systems was broken. So in their testing, they tested each one one at a time. It's very slow, and they didn't have the knowledge in-house to figure out which system it was. And if they did, it would take them many days to figure out, and they were losing millions of dollars per day. So they reached out to the number one consultant in this area, had him come in and figure out what system it was. So they paint the story where this guy gets on a plane, shows up there, puts his white lab coat on, goes in the building, 15 minutes or so, reviews some of the systems, takes some sticky notes out of his pocket, makes a big X on the sticky note, sticks it on one of the systems, says, this is the one. If you fix what's wrong with this system, you'll be back at 100%. They do that afternoon, back at 100%. Consultant flies back to his office. Next day, sends a bill out to the guy who's running the power plant for $10,000. The guy thinks, wow, that's a lot of money. You did solve our problem. We aren't losing millions of dollars anymore, but $10,000 for 20 minutes of work does seem like a lot. Sends an email back, hey, can you itemize your bill so I can get this paid? He says, sure. Oh, and he said, can you itemize? Because all you really did was put an X on a sticky note, and that's all you were here for 20 minutes. So $10,000 is steep. So the consultant says, sure. A couple minutes later, responds back, says, drawing an X on a sticky note, $1. Knowing which system to place that X on, $9,999. So that story illustrates two things that I want you to walk away with today, if nothing else. One, we can't be in the mindset where we just change time for money, that I work 20 minutes, I should get X. That it's not time, it's ideas, it's value, it's expertise that we are delivering to our clients. So even if it's only one showing, or even if the property was on the market for only 2 days, we are providing expertise that they can get nowhere else, value to them that is unsurpassed, that the ideas that we have, the expertise provide, the value they provide cannot be matched, is unparalleled. And that's what they come to work with us for. So that's what that story illustrates. Lastly, this one's quick. I heard this one this week. It's sort of morbid, but it kind of ties in because, you tell people, it's like, don't exchange time for money. Think about it as value expertise. Well, that's easy. Well, that's easy for you to say, but that's really hard in practice. It is, but it starts with a mindset. And I purposely don't coach around mindset or things like that because, one, it's not my expertise. Two, there's a lot of great stuff out there on being more positive, having a mindset. The freezer car story is about a gentleman in the Oklahoma City area who worked on a train who accidentally got himself locked in a freezer car overnight. And as time went on, he lost control of, what he could do. He couldn't, he was shivering, very cold because he was in a freezer car. So as the night wore on, he wrote into the ice on the car saying, getting colder, cannot move, not going to make it. And unfortunately, this is a very sad story. In the morning, he woke up and when someone found, he was banging on the door, resigned to not getting out. When he was found the next day, he was no longer alive. And the reason that this story is of note, or the only reason I'm telling it, is not because of its morbidity, but because the freezer on the freezer car had actually been turned off. And it was cold, but it never dipped below 49 degrees in that freezer car at night. And while 49 degrees is certainly low, it is not enough to, cause any, it's not below freezing. And most people have endured 49 degrees. There's certainly be negative outcomes, but death should not have been one of them. And the reason was because he convinced himself that he was in a freezer car well below zero and that his body could not make it through. So the only takeaway there is how strong the mind is, that although the physical conditions should not have had such a strong impact on him, that though the actual physical conditions coupled with his mindset did lead to very dire consequences. So we need to change what we think about, how we think about it, and how we approach situations we find ourselves in. Speaking of approach and expectations, in general, I like to talk in terms of strategy and logistics. I've added a lot more tactics to this workshop so people can run with a lot of what we're talking about, as well as high level strategy, goal setting, long-term thinking. As you can see, low production value, but I believe the information is really of high value. That's why it's presented in this way. I want it as accessible to anybody who wants it. So feel free to share this video out. We talk about a way that you need to customize what we're talking about. There's not just one way or the way to do things. The one size fits all works for no one. Take this information and mold it for you and your business because of things like circumstances. You might duplicate exactly the way somebody else did something, and it might have worked for them, but it might have worked for them because of their certain circumstances at the time. The timing might have been better. Their market may have been better. They might have had a larger sphere of influence. They might have had more resources. Whatever it is, their circumstances are always going to be different to your specific circumstances. You need to tailor it to you. So follow, I'm not saying start from scratch. Take other people's blueprints, take what's worked for them and make it work for you and your business.